and how it all got started. So in France in 1783, there were a couple paper manufacturers, and these guys are named the Montgolfiers, and they noticed that as they burned their scraps of paper, that particles would rise up with the smoke. So they experimented with a small 4-foot diameter paper balloon, held it up over a smoky fire, and sure enough, it lifted off. So these guys sat down and thought about it and decided they could build something big enough, they could put enough smoke in it that it would lift them off the ground as well. So they constructed a balloon that held 43,000 cubic feet of air. If you need a reference, these ones held 280,000. So the first balloon was quite a bit smaller than these ones. It was a paper balloon. It had a silk overlay wrapped around it. It had faces painted on it and swirls and curls and streamers. And about time these guys got this thing finished, the King of France heard what they were going to do, and he called them into the courts and he said, listen, you guys, you're very prominent Frenchmen, you're the royal paper manufacturers, I cannot allow you to participate in this because you'll be killed. Well, they argued with the king and they argued with the king, but the king wasn't going to hear of it. He did offer him 2 criminals. There they are, saying, I've got these guys, I've been needing to take them out and sharpen up the blade on my guillotine and use it on them, and you can save me that mess and clean them up wherever you find them, since he was convinced they'd die. Well, they didn't want the honor of first flight going to a couple criminals, so they sent animals on the first balloon ride, and they sent up a sheep, a rooster, and a duck. And the king was right, the rooster did become the first ballooning casualty, as it was killed on the impact of landing by the sheep, who wasn't holding on in 2 places, didn't have his knees slightly bent, so when they hit the ground, the sheep stepped on the rooster, and the rooster died.
Poor rooster.
Poor rooster, yep. So the balloon was also a casualty as it flew across the countryside. The French peasants, who had never seen anything in the air before, saw this thing coming at them. It's bellowing smoke out of it. It's making animal sounds. And these guys did the human thing and grabbed their pitchforks and slayed this creature. And about time they got it tore up and deflated, the first chase crew arrived by horseback. And these guys were heartbroken because all their hard work had been entirely destroyed. But they were happy to find a live sheep and a live duck. And with that, they could prove to the king they could survive the flight if they could keep the peasants from killing them at the end of the flight. So they started carrying champagne on board as a way to identify themselves as indeed being Earthlings and not some sort of outer space creature. So that's how champagne got involved in the sport of ballooning. 3 years later, in 1786, the Irish became involved in the sport of ballooning, and these Irishmen were watching these Frenchmen get up, fly these contraptions around, and legitimately drink before noon. And being good Irishmen, they're ready to sign up for that activity, and they wrote the balloonist prayer. And that's how we conclude all of our flights. Little prayer, little toast.
Little OJ.
The winds have welcomed you with softness. The sun has blessed you with his warm hands. You have flown so high and so well that God has joined you in laughter and sent you gently back into the loving arms of Mother Earth. Cheers! Cheers.